You know, the MCU has provided some of the most gripping movie moments of the last decade plus, and we can recall some of these snapshots of time almost instantly, and they've become part of the public consciousness. Everything from the first time Tony Stark said, "I am Iron Man," to the official assembling of the Avengers, to the snap itself. These are moments that have made the Marvel Cinematic Universe the pulp culture juggernaut that it is today. But this is something special to me. The anguish, the disappointment, the ever-sinking feeling of failure, and knowing that you've lost everything you've worked so hard for. This piece, I call it Downfall of a Douche. Man, from episode 1 of Falcon and Winter Soldier, I felt like Taylor Swift, because I knew John Walker was trouble when he walked into the MCU. I knew that he would become the US agent and represent this twisted, off-kilter version of Captain America. Not because I'm some sort of super genius, but because it's in the comics, man. And just seeing this chump for the first time with a smug face, pretending to be the Cap. I had a lot of reasons to not get behind this guy. But what I didn't expect was the nature of his mental decline. As I saw Johnny W slowly descend into madness, I found myself oddly sympathizing with him. I saw a man trying to do so much, but was only able to do so much, and in the end this gap drove him over the edge. So what caused his breakdown? Why did John Walker fail as Captain America? I'm the guidance guy, and your internet school counselor is going to shine a light on the downfall of an American icon. So let's start with how the discount captain got his title in the first place. It wasn't simply given to him or that he was able to buy it with his millions, he earned it. He was at the top of his class, peak physical condition, and proven in the battlefield. It was as if John was born to be Captain America. Not only that, but he had the hype machine backing him up. He had the backing of both the American government and the American public. He had it made, he had the qualifications, he earned his spot fair and square, and he had the people waiting for him to do his thing. But with all these expectations, there comes a dark side to that reality. A dark side that eventually consumed him. Have you ever gotten something that you've always wanted, something that you've put all of yourself to earn, only to realize that the experience you wanted so badly wasn't at all what you thought it would be? It's an odd and frankly discouraging situation to go through. It's like getting the Christmas present that you've wanted all year, only to realize that the reality of having said gift did not match the expectations. And that discouragement is symbolic to what happened to the Diet Captain. He had the credentials, he was given the role of Captain America due to his own merit, and throughout the episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we see a man who is struggling deep with imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is the experience of someone doubting their place in a high-achieving position or scenario and believing themselves to be a fraud. It's the doctor who feels like they don't deserve to be in the profession. It's the pro athlete who thinks they got drafted too high and isn't good enough as everyone says she is. And for John, it's the man who was given the title of Captain America but who struggled to convince himself that he can carry through with the expectation that comes with that rank. Now, despite the name, imposter syndrome is not classified as a mental illness. It is recognized by mental health professionals as an experience that people go through, and they warn of its destructive potential, but no one's going around getting diagnosed with this. And it's clear that Walker was fighting that battle. When we see him get ready for his GMA event, he talks to Olivia and Lamar about all the things that being Captain America means, and how he feels about having to live up to Steve's legacy. He also mentions his plight to our reluctant buddy cop duo in the Jeep when he says that he's trying his best to be the best captain he could possibly be. And as time went on, we see other signs in Walker. We see the self-doubt. We see him believing that he got chosen to become the Cap, not because of his character and dedication, but outside factors like the mission that he and Lamar went on. We see the stress that comes with imposter syndrome. And that stress followed Walker through the entire series. The stress to perform, the stress to stop the Flag Smashers, the stress of being Captain America. And eventually we saw this stress evolve into frustration and anger as he saw his efforts be either not appreciated or just not enough to get the job done. Just take a look at this scene right here. That scene is J-Dub's experience as Captain America in a nutshell. He's trying to make a difference, trying to do work, only to get wrecked by everything around him. Now, why is that? The reason why Walker had so much trouble in his time as the Cap is because the right people didn't respect him. Notice how I didn't say no one respected him, because that wasn't true. He clearly had the approval of the public and the government. They respected him for sure. But the thing is, before he took the serum, there was only so much a human could do in the MCU. If you're a human with genius intellect and advanced tech, then you're good. If you're a straight up god, then clearly you'll get stuff done. But if you're just a very athletic guy with above average intelligence and a borrowed shield, then you're gonna have some problems. No one with more ability than the average human gave Walker the time of day. Not Falcon, not Bucky, not the stupidly named Flag Smashers, and certainly not Wakandian warriors. And why is that? I mean, he was Captain America. He even said so. Multiple times.
I am Captain America. I am Captain America.
It's one thing for Tony to loudly proclaim who he was because that was the identity that he created for himself, but for this guy, he didn't make the Captain. The Captain made him. It boils down to this. Walker wanted respect, but all he had was a title. Anyone outside of the masses knew that Johnny Boy didn't earn his stripes as America's hero. Yes, he passed the government-sanctioned audition, but he hadn't stopped any super Nazis. He hadn't upheld the highest values through example and sacrifice. To them, he was just a Captain America cosplayer, and they treated him as such. Sure, he earned his way to his spot in the eyes of the common man, but at that level that he found himself in, his best wasn't good enough on the hero level. But wait a minute, Guidance Guy, you may be wondering. Good old Steve had to earn his spot as Captain America too. Sure, it wasn't exactly the same as Walker's situation, but he had to show himself worthy to people before they threw him into the super steroid machine. And that's true, but here's the major difference between these two men and ultimately why Rogers is held in such high regard. It comes down to character. Let me ask you something. How did Steve react to adversity? Remember, before he took the serum, Rogers was a shrimpy guy. He was small, skinny, and really had no right to be in the armed forces. And he was rejected by the army multiple times due to his stature and numerous health issues. But he was determined to jump into battle because of his utter disdain for injustice and the bullies of the world. And he was willing to try and try and try again until he broke through. He pushed through multiple rejections and his own weak body and showed those around him that even when he didn't have the means, he had the will. He saw the difficulties and dug deep into his well of determination and got what he needed to continue. But on the other hand, what did Jay Walker do when trouble came? He got surly, angry, impatient. He snapped at people and got impulsive. Why is that? Because on top of everything else we've discussed, with Walker, the pressure defined his motivation. Take away all the big talk he gave on Good Morning America and all the marketing. What we see is someone who wanted so badly to live up to the idea of Captain America that it became his reason for being Captain America. When he couldn't recruit Sam and Bucky, or when Carly got away, or when he couldn't protect Lamar, his headspace was in the place of, Steve would have been able to do this. He never says it outright, but you can tell that's what's going through his head. It was never about protecting his fellow Americans or about safeguarding innocents from terrorists. It was all about him. It was about his role, about him being the hero. And it's that character deficit that we saw not just grow, but ultimately expose him as not being worthy of carrying the shield. But now that we've unwrapped all of this, does any of this translate to our existence? Well, quite a bit actually. This is what I love so much about the MCU. We see these stories of deities, superhumans, and magic that on one hand are so insane, so ridiculous, and so grand, but at the same time, be so intimate and human. We not only see the bombastic exploits of heroes, but the inner battles that we'd otherwise never see. And with the Copy Captain, we see him reach those levels of grand spectacle, but in the end realize that it was his inner limitations that caused him more trouble than his physical ones. And I see insights from Johnny Walker, no, not that one, that we can use as we go through instances where we can enter our next level so that we don't fall for the same traps. And the first thing we gotta watch for is stress management. No matter who you are or what you do, stress impacts us all. I often see students, regardless of academic ability, tie themselves into knots over high-stakes tests that can determine anything from what classes they will take next year to whether they'll even get to the next grade. And if you have a job, you may worry about how well you're performing or about a major project coming up. Stress is universal, unfortunately, but that doesn't mean that we're condemned to a world of worry. We have multiple options at our disposal to help control our reaction to the things we can't control. Reading, meeting up with friends, gaming, enjoying nature, journaling. I could keep going with this. If you have a thing and you like doing the thing, then that thing can help you regulate the pressures of life. Naturally, you can't overindulge in it because that's just counterproductive, but finding a balance is key. A good way to gauge whether or not you have that balance is to simply ask yourself, am I able to enjoy this activity and still do what I need to do? If you can answer yes to that honestly, nice, you're on the right path. If not, then it's time to take a second look at them priorities. Walker didn't do that, and he allowed the stress of being Captain America push him to a place where his emotions ruled him. And we all know how that turned out. Another step to master when wanting to overcome pressure situations is to go back to our motivation. Obviously, the first step in that side quest is to make sure you have one. You need to have a why behind the things you do. And no, reasons like, because I have to and I don't have a choice aren't good enough. Even if you're required to do something, there needs to be a stirring within you. Is there someone who you could dedicate your work to? What positive outcome can occur only by staying consistent? So start there, and then once you have it, have that motivation close to you. No, really, have it close to you. Whether it's on your mind when you think about it often, or you have it written down on a sticky somewhere that you see every day. And here's the kicker on that motivation. You have to make sure that this motivation is not all about you. That's the mistake that the store brand captain made. His motivation on the surface was about serving the country, but beneath all that, it was really about gaining respect and power from the Shield. And when he didn't get it, he started to act desperate. But the most important part of keeping your cool in the most intense situations is having confidence in yourself. Sounds basic, right? It's exactly the sort of thing a guidance counselor would say, isn't it? But listen, I'm not that kind of hokey rainbows and kittens school counselor, okay? When I say have confidence in yourself, I mean knowing who you are as a person. And even that sounds like a massive task, but all that means is being able to know your strengths, your weaknesses, and what you stand for. Knowing those three things will give you everything you need to understand yourself and see your own worth. Because at the core of it all, Johnny's doubts came from a lack of confidence. Why do you think he was so hung up on not being a super soldier? He was deeply insecure about being the Stars and Stripes without having some enhanced muscle to throw around. And when he found himself getting wrecked by someone with more abilities than a street punk, it just made that insecurity grow and led him to taking the serum anyway. We can never handle the pressure if we don't believe we can handle it in the first place. And even though John Walker's story is a downer one about a war hero elevated to the highest heights only to be brought down by his own fears and insecurities, that doesn't mean that our lives need to follow that same path. We always have the chance to improve ourselves, understand ourselves, and love ourselves, and we need to take them, so that when we get our come up, we'll be ready to fearlessly take on that challenge. Thanks for watching! Let me know your thoughts in the comments and if you have any stories or characters that you'd want me to look into. And of course, do the YouTube thing! Like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Until next time!